Stepped on the scene, dripped in saline. Whole crew shining, call me Mr. Clean. Came in from the back, walked right to the front. Dancing to the music, smoking on the. Got the women smiling, punk grilling me. Looking all dusty, black force energy. I don't even drink, but the team pop bottles. Not here for the beef, but the Glock holds hollows. Think I'm cocky, but I think I'm worse. In this flexing like a Mr. Universe.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is the WBC refuses to sanction Amanda Serrano versus, I think it's like Daniela Ramos, because it's going to be 12 3-minute rounds. So they don't want to sanction this fight because it's going to be women fighting 12 3-minute rounds. However, the other sanctioning bodies have agreed to sanction this fight. We're going to take a look at Amanda Serrano's poster for this fight. Here's the poster right here. As you can see.
Championship boxing, they scratched
Crosses out women. Championship boxing. 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds. And as you see, unified featherweight championship. It doesn't say undisputed because the WBC is not sanctioning this fight, although Amanda Serrano is in possession of the WBC title. So Amanda Serrano wrote, super excited about my 12 times 3 fight. It's something that I want for my career, my team, my opponent, and most of the organization support it. The rest of you that don't like it, real simple, don't do it. No one's asking you to talk about what you can control. This ain't it. All right, so that's what she wrote. Now we're going to take a look at what Mauricio Suleiman had to say, and we're going to listen to him explain why he didn't sanction this fight. So let's take a listen to G's favorite president of a sanctioning body, Mauricio Suleiman.
Women's boxing is growing by the year. It seems like we're seeing a lot of women headline, major shows. We have heard some of the most high-profile women out there call for women's boxing to be fought under 3-minute round rules, to have 3-minute rounds. Right now, they are at 2. Where do you stand on women's boxing going from 2-minute rounds to 3-minute rounds?
The WBC has done thorough research, and at this point, unless there is absolute medical, scientific clearance, we will never allow women to fight 3-minute rounds. This is medically and scientifically. But if we go to the facts and to the reality, why would you change if women's boxing is so exciting and it's so great at 2 minutes? It's a different pace. Everybody loves to see women boxing, and I'm certain that the 2 minutes have a lot to do with it. You don't need 3 minutes to knock out somebody out, and just the rationale is on medical. Men and women have complete.
Sorry, excuse me. I would. There are other studies, Mauricio, that say it's not as significant a risk as the WBC has made it out to be. I've read them. I've seen them. Why are you not? Why are you not looking at some of these other medical opinions that say it's not as big a risk as you think?
I don't know what medical opinions you refer to. I'll be happy to look at them. We have annual conventions where all the topics are in the open floor. And we have also a clear opening to address any situation. Nobody has ever put together or put forward a petition with facts and with medical research. Zero. I don't go out shopping and trying to find articles, as you mentioned, but nothing has ever been put forward to the WBC. What I can tell you is men and women have completely different physiognomy. The neck area has a different structure. The menstrual period brings a very different situation into the hormones and the woman when they're going through that process. And the ratio for concussion, it's much more higher for women than for men. We will not be into a popularity contest. Many times we have protect boxers from themselves. Boxers are warriors. They would fight 30 rounds or 5-minute rounds if they were requested to do so to earn their living. They don't care about the rules. We have to protect them and put the rules for their protection.
I would say to answer your question, but why does it need to be changed? Someone like Amanda Serrano, who is the undisputed champion at 126 and one of the few power punchers in women's boxing, she would say, hey, I just fought in the biggest fight in women's boxing history. If I had an extra minute in that 5th round, I would have knocked out Katie Taylor. Or when I won my first belt at 126, I believe at 130, fighting Heather Hardy, then if I had an extra minute in the 1st round, I would have knocked him out. The argument for 3-minute rounds is it will increase the number of knockouts and therefore grow women's boxing because, as you know, people, whether it's men or women, they love watching knockouts.
That's a speculation. And
they do. People love knockouts.
Oh, no. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a speculation to say she would have won by knockout if there was another minute. We cannot prove that. But why don't we go back to 15 rounds and see people who are not human beings in the ring being just put to the limits of human? We are for safety. And women want to fight in a safe platform and a safe control environment. They're welcome in the WBC.
All right, so that's what Mauricio Suleiman had to say in his explanation of why he's not sanctioning Amanda Serrano versus Daniela Ramos. Their 12-round, 3-minute fight. So, G, what's your reaction to what Mauricio Suleiman had to say?
And Mauricio, I'm gonna be honest, man. He sounds like a dinosaur, and the reason why I say that is because I was trying to see it from his perspective, right? And he's like, "Hey, we haven't seen any studies, right, that can guarantee the safety of the fighters. However, we're talking about boxing here. You know what I'm saying? Like the sport within itself is dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, like when I watch women's boxing, my issue is there's very little strategy in it because they understand, hey, the time slot is so short, so I'm just gonna start punching. And it's like, come on, this is like sometimes it gets kind of like cartoonish almost. You know, they don't really set up shots. Then there's not the art form of boxing. I feel like a lot of it is missing in women's boxing because of the time restrictions. So if you give fighters more time, you know, then we start to see like the cream of the crop rise to the top. So I agree with Serrano on this, where it's like, yo, if y'all give me more time, that gives me more time to showcase my skills. You know, like with just these 2-minute rounds, I'm just standing in the middle of the ring throwing punches, just swinging, you know, and it's just like, okay, like some people may like that. Like, you know, I'm not saying there's not a market for it, but I think for the rest of the world that are used to 12 rounds that are 3 minutes, you know, they want to see women compete on that level as well, you know. And so, like, and then the fact that they were asking some Mauricio Suleiman, like, hey, but there's also research that say, you know, there's no difference. Like women could handle 3-minute rounds. And he's just like, yeah, I don't know about all of that, yo. So let's just make it 15 rounds and let's just have dog fights again. And I'm like, yo, bro, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So clearly he's just set in his ways. You know, he's from that era. He's an older gentleman. So I don't want to sound ageist, but clearly he has his beliefs. you know, and it's coming out in how he views women boxing, you know, and so that's why it's unfortunate. But I just think he's a product of his era, his age, you know, and I think boxing is moving in the more progressive direction. It's just gonna take some time for the old guard to just step down or pass away and or just move on and retire, you know. So Mauricio's just one of them old heads that just gotta go.
Yeah, what you said was very interesting because I got the same impression. He was kept saying scientific and medical, but he never really referred to any study. Like, what's the specific medical condition that you're referring to that prevents women from being able to fight 3-minute rounds? He never really said anything about that. And so for me, I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to basically make the argument that women physically can't fight 12 3-minute rounds, you should have evidence ready to just pull it out and throw it on a table. You should actually have tangible evidence. You should have numerous articles that you're willing to put out there to support that assertion. Another issue that I have with what he said was that their menstrual cycle. That just sounded very sexist to me. Like, what does a menstrual cycle have to do with boxing? What does the facts of it just seemed like the number one sexist thing to like say.
That's a fact.
I was like, their menstrual cycle, bro. So what are I just don't know, and their hormones, and it just sounded like straight sexist, bro. It just came off. So I'm curious to know how a menstrual cycle plays a role in a woman's ability to fight 3-minute rounds. I just don't understand. Women play numerous sports, and I'm sure they had to play those sports while they're on their cycle. In fact, Alicia Baumgartner was just in a fight where she was on her cycle. So, like, what? So, can you imagine? It just reminds me of all the other professions that used to use certain tests to keep women from being like firefighters, for example. Yeah. It was difficult for women to become firefighters, and eventually a case was filed that the test that they use created a result where women couldn't pass, and it was more likely than not that men were going to pass. Not that all women couldn't pass, but it was unnecessarily difficult for women so that they couldn't pass. And so that's what this sounds like. It's what science are you relying on? What medical conditions are you relying on? It just sounds like you're creating this standard, and then you're comparing women fighting equal rounds to men fighting 15 rounds. He's talking about women have smaller necks. Yeah, they also don't have as much power as the men do, so they're fighting people who have the same physical condition as them. You're talking like you're putting a man in against a woman, which you did have a fight where you put in a woman.
Jimenez.
Jimenez versus Cruz DeZern.
That was great.
And that looked like domestic violence in there.
Hola.
You weren't too proud to sanction that, Mauricio.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien. Right? You were okay sanctioning that, Mauricio. But now when it comes to, women fighting 12 3-minute rounds, oh, no. The WBC, isn't going because they got menstrual cycles. My man really said that.
That's crazy. I don't know why they were refusing them to do 12-round, 3-minute rounds. To me, putting them in there for 10 rounds and doing 2 minutes, that's like some old crazy warrior type stuff. They make them go at it like barbarians and go
It's amateur. It's amateur. It's amateur.
They don't let them set up nothing and nothing like, nah, that's crazy. It's more barbaric making them do that the 2-minute, 10 rounds thing. Because they got to go and give everything they got. They can't set nothing up. And that's why you're not getting the stoppages and certain things. Because by the time they get somebody hurt, the bell done ding, ding, ding.
I understand. Mauricio loves the babies, man. He has to look out for the babies.
This is crazy.
Mauricio's concerned about a heavy flow. You know what I'm saying? We call heavy flow Mauricio. You know what I'm saying? But you're right, bro. See, that's the thing. Like, you look at fighters like Katie Taylor and you look at fighters like Amanda Serrano, right? They're at a disadvantage when they're in there with someone like Delphine Persoon. Delphine Persoon just knew she just had to keep throwing punches for 2 minutes. Then she went to her corner and then got out there and just swung for 2 minutes, hoping some land. And it's easy because you got to think about it. You're resting half as long as you fight. So it's very hard for your gas tank to go down when you're doing that. So you put the skilled fighters in women's boxing at a disadvantage. And like Trill said, once the bell sounds, you got the women going out there and they got to get to it early, right? They got to make a statement, oh, I'm the better fighter. They got to get to it early because they don't have enough time to set things up. They don't have enough time to prove that they're the better fighter. It is very amateur. When I started off as an amateur, when I was younger, like 12, we used to have to fight 1-minute rounds. We used to fight, it was 3 or 4 1-minute rounds. And bro, it used to be hell. Once the bell rung, everyone's out there. I used to want to try to get in there and show my defense, but it's hard to show your defense when we got 1 minute. Yeah. It's like, I got to tag this person more, and it just turns rock'em sock'em robots in there. Then we went from 1 minute to 2 minutes. It was a little better, but it was the same thing. Blah, 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 blah. You just get in there, it's just an all-out slugfest. But once you get to 3-minute rounds, that's too long for you to go in there rock'em sock'em robots, because at some point you're going to fade. And see, that's what we need. We need that in women's boxing. Because the problem with women's boxing, the reason why you don't get knockouts is the punches that knock you out are the ones that are set up, the ones you don't see. We were just talking about that. The difference between knocking someone out in MMA, knocking someone out in boxing is you knock someone in boxing with technique, punch placement, skill, counter, timing, exactly. You're not getting that in women's boxing because as soon as the bell rings, they feel like they got to get it all off. They got to get off all their punches. So I've always wondered this, and I would wonder what the reason is for in women's tennis. The women play the first one to win 2 sets. And in men's tennis, they play the first one to win 3 sets. So the men actually play longer and they play more than the women do in tennis. And I always wondered why that was. And there is some argument that they use to support that about endurance and stamina. And, women in tennis aren't complaining because they get equal pay as the men and they don't have to play as many sets. So they're not complaining about it in tennis. But in the sport of boxing, I don't necessarily know if that same rule applies. But here's what I know. And Dollar Bill is back on the screen, so I want to give him a chance to jump in on this topic because I know Dollar Bill, he loves topics like this where we talk about equality. There are medical studies that show, and you can look this up, that a black man doesn't have the mental capability or the same mental capability as a white man to perform the position of quarterback. And so for many years, they ran around saying that a black person couldn't play quarterback. There's so many
research was funded by neo-Nazis. You know?
Yeah, there's so many studies out there like that. And I bet you if you pull the studies that Mauricio Suleiman is referring to about women not being able to fight 3-minute rounds, it was funded by some sexists. Women do 12 3-minute, or I don't say 12, but they fight 3-minute rounds in the gym. I seen women run marathons. You mean to tell me it's more taxing to the boss? Trust me, listen, I never ran 26 miles. There are women out there that run 26 miles at a faster time than I run 1 mile. Consistently for 26 miles. If there are women out there who could do that, women can fight 12 3-minute rounds, bro.
Facts.
Like, come on, man. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So to me, it's cap. Oh, Dollar Bill, I don't know if you're there. I don't know if you want to jump in on this or if you want us to wrap this up. If you got something you want to say about it, but that's just cap to me. All these medical studies. There's medical studies that say that black people aren't human. That they used to rely on back in the day. Trust me, I've seen them. So like, what are we talking about? It just seems just stupid to me. Go ahead, bro. Get in there.
Oh, nah. I said what I needed to say, man. Like I said, man, the 12 round. I don't like how they got it all crazy like that. I think the women should be able to do 12-minute, 3-minute rounds so they be able to set things up. How they got them going in there now is a little bit barbaric. You know what I'm saying? Got them going in there just swinging wild. You know how the girls used to fight in the hood back in the days? That's how they got them in there, man. Like, ding, ding, ding.
They threw 1,000.
You gotta do a little straighten, man. That's what I feel. WBC, do better.
All right, take us out.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. You know you rocking with Mr. Boxing.
I feel it in my soul. Can you feel me? Came so cold in my cell, all them lonely nights. Stay 10 toes.